tomorrow, the start of a string of beautiful days. It'll be sunny with a high of 71. And for the weekend, very nice. Mostly sunny skies all weekend. The high temps in the low to mid 70s and no rain until Tuesday at the earliest of next week. I'm Kevin Cohen with your On Point local weather.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, and fireplaces. Spring Sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
Don't you forget, pressing the button can also be enjoyable for you.
This is Sports Talk with Phil Kornblum, Chris Bergen, and Pat Daniel. Sports Talk is heard across the state on radio affiliates of the Sports Talk Media Network and is streaming live on SportsTalkSC.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil, Chris, and Pat with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
All right, it's the day before the Final Four for the women up in Minneapolis, a couple of days away from the Final Four for the men in New Orleans. Everybody's getting ready for the big end to the college basketball season as we close out March Madness and the month of March, going out like a lion with this weather, I would say. But what a 3 months of the year it's been so far with the way the football season played out. Clemson, a little bit disappointing for them on the football side. South Carolina, maybe more of a surprise than people thought they were going to be, finishing with a winning record and a bowl victory, a national championship for South Carolina State, and a great season for Coastal Carolina and a bowl win. Move into basketball, and pretty much, it was pretty much to norm in South Carolina. So far this year, the way the basketball season played out. The USC women carrying the day, though Coastal Carolina is still playing for a championship that was supposed to be played tonight, but now will be played tomorrow night. Chris will tell us about that in just a moment. And the baseball season is, not exactly what we're used to here in the state, though we do have some teams having really good years. Wofford's having a good season to this point. And, South Carolina, Clemson, about average right now. We'll see what they can do this weekend. The Gamecocks heading out to Missouri. Clemson hosting NC State. Monty Lee, the Clemson coach, will join us at 7:30 to preview the series with NC State. And they're coming off that win at Winthrop. We'll see what they have for NC State. Upstate's having a very good baseball season to this point. The College of Charleston's been okay. The Citadel is having an excellent baseball season to this point. So, 3 months in, we now get ready with the end of basketball season this weekend and Monday, I guess, for the men. We get ready for what's ahead, and that is the end of spring football practice. Spring games coming up. South Carolina spring game coming up later on this month. Clemson's is a week from Saturday, and we've had some other schools wrap it up. As you know, we've talked to Coastal Carolina, and we've talked to the Citadel, we've talked to the Furman, and we'll talk to the others as they wrap up spring ball. But this weekend, all the eyes are going to be on the folks in the shorts and the sneakers, the basketball folks, as they play the women's Final Four Minneapolis. And it was press conference day today. We'll hear from Dawn Staley and from the Louisville side of things as well. And the men on Saturday, and I think everybody, Chris, everybody is anxiously awaiting that last game of the night, the second game of the doubleheader, that Duke, North Carolina game. We'll see if it lives up to the hype and the expectations. Let's hope it's one of those great Tobacco Road games, just though they're playing it in New Orleans. Just pretend you're either in Cameron or you're in the Dean Dome when you're only 8 miles apart and you're just playing your regular type game and see if we can have some of the drama that those two have provided many, many times over the years. Wouldn't it be great to see it come down to some last-second shot that has been the case so many times in that Duke-North Carolina rivalry?
It's interesting, Phil. I was thinking about it. I think if you're not a fan of either one of those two teams, despite being upset that those two teams are in the Final Four, because North Carolina and Duke are about as polarizing, especially Duke, for whatever reason, are about as polarizing as any college basketball team out there. So you're probably pulling against one of those two teams, not necessarily pulling for. but it reminded me of when South Carolina and Clemson met in the College World Series, and the Gamecocks always seem to have the upper hand out in Omaha.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a Tar Heel or a Blue Devils fan, this is your worst nightmare. I mean, it really is. You're on the biggest of big stages. Here's an opportunity for your team to go play for a national championship, but you've got to get past your most hated rival. And if you lose, if your team were to lose, you know the other side of the coin is never going to let you forget it. This has never happened before. It may never, ever happen again. And if the team that goes on to win the game on Saturday knocks off either Villanova or Kansas and wins a national championship and can say, hey, we went through you guys at the Final Four to win our national championship. I mean, you want to talk about the ultimate bragging rights. North Carolina sort of has them right now because they beat Krzyzewski and Cameron in his final game there. But if Duke were to turn the tables and win on Saturday, I think that's obviously the ultimate bragging rights and the sort of drop the mic going out the door, if you will, for Mike Krzyzewski.
Oh, no question. No question. And, you know, how often, when again, will they ever meet in the Final Four or even in the NCAA tournament? Mm-hmm. So you're right. Getting this win is really the win for the ages in that particular rivalry. You made a great analogy, South Carolina Clemson baseball. Of course, they played 100-plus games in their baseball rivalry or 200-plus games in their baseball rivalry. But until they got to Omaha and played in that setting, everything else was great, but that was for the big enchilada. Mm-hmm. And Gamecock fans have never let Clemson fans forget that, no matter what happens in the rivalry in that baseball series in particular. They've always got the fact that South Carolina has handled Clemson and Omaha in those times that they have met. So it's huge for that state. It's huge for that particular area, that little 6-8 mile ride there between Durham and Chapel Hill. It should be a lot of fun. Their fans, I'm sure, are packing into New Orleans, and the Superdome, the Mercedes Superdome is going to be lit, as they say. Meantime, tomorrow night, Minneapolis, a smaller setting, but still nonetheless exciting. And we've got arguably the 4 best teams in women's college basketball this year. I'm sure NC State would put up an argument that they're right there as well, and they are. And Iowa would probably put up an argument that they're right there, and they are. So you can interchange those two with a couple of others. I don't think the one you can't bounce really is South Carolina. UConn, I could say you could bounce because they're not healthy again. They've had a year where they were without Beckers for a large part, and now they've lost the player that got hurt the other night, the one of their post players. So I mean, they're wounded once again. I'm sure that they would love to be going into this thing with all hands on deck. It's not going to be the case. Fortunately for South Carolina, Gamecocks are a healthy team. They are a confident team. They are being honored up in Minneapolis today. You had Aaliyah Boston announced as the National Player of the Year by the AP. Dawn Staley was not named the Coach of the Year. Coach at LSU was named the AP Women's Coach of the Year, and she did a great job. This is. I
thought she actually should have got. Oh, go ahead, Phil. I'll let you finish.
I was going to say this is the problem that Dawn Staley faces, a lot like John Wooden probably faced it a lot, and Dean Smith. When they had great teams, they were passed over for Coach of the Year because their great teams were expected because they always had great players. They always produced great teams, and the voters would pass them over because somebody else maybe did more than was expected with less. You did a lot with more, but that was expected, and you get penalized by that.
Well, tailing off of that, I thought Kim Mulkey actually deserved to be the SEC Women's Basketball Coach of the Year as well for that reason. Dawn Staley, and it brings up that great question. What's more difficult as a coach? To coach great players and keep them great, or is it to take a team that many people don't expect much from, like LSU? They were picked up, towards the back half of the SEC in the preseason, finished in the upper half of the SEC. Is that a better job that Kim Mulkey did with LSU than what Dawn Staley did, taking a team that had all that pressure on it the entire season, preseason number 1, finish the season number 1, which is the better job? And I don't know that I have a great answer for that, but I think you can make a strong argument, much as you can Player of the Year. If it had gone to Caitlin Clark, I'm not sure. Gamecock fans would have been upset, and understandably so, but I don't know that you could say, well, Aaliyah Boston was just that much better that she deserved it, and vice versa. Since it went to Aaliyah Boston, I don't know that you can say that Caitlin Clark, despite her leading the country in points per game and also I think assists. I don't think she was that much better than Aaliyah Boston. That either one was a bad selection. Same thing here. Dawn Staley as National Coach of the Year, I got no problem with that. Kim Mulkey, National Coach of the Year, I have no problem with that either.
Yeah, and so Staley's just gotten another one this evening. The Pat Summitt Trophy, the WBCA National Coach of the Year, goes to Dawn Staley. So she's racking up enough hardware. She's gotten that one. She got the Naismith National Coach of the Year award, and there's and then some others have gotten some. So you're right. It's highly subjective. It's who you happen to like that particular time, that particular year. It's all good. And Dawn Staley's won enough of these things where she's not going to begrudge anybody else for winning it as well, who's had a terrific year. So what it does do, you have to look at her contract and see what kind of coin that kicks in to her contract with these Coach of the Year honors, because that's written in there. And Aaliyah Boston, I'm seeing here, Aaliyah Boston won the 2022 Wade Trophy. So she's won all three of the Major Player of the Year awards. And so I don't want to get back into what we talked about last night, but I mean, National Player of the Year and win the national championship if they can this year, win the national championship. You got to think about what South Carolina is going to do to honor her a few years down the road. What if they don't win the national championship? For all the greatness that they've had, and here I am going to be sounding kind of greedy. For this great run that South Carolina's had, and you have to eliminate 1 year when there was no tournament, when they might have very well had the best team in the country and might have won the tournament. They've only won, I say only, they've only won one national championship during this run of greatness. They fell short last year. What happens if they don't win? I mean, they have to really kind of consider that possibility. They're not an absolute lock to win this thing.
It would be a massive disappointment, Phil, because that has been what has fueled them since last April, when Aaliyah Boston could not finish that tap in as the horn sounded and Stanford, advances on and ultimately wins the national championship. They have circled this moment. This was what the entire season was geared towards. It wasn't about winning the SEC. That was big. It wasn't about winning the SEC tournament. Okay, they didn't do that. It wasn't about just getting into the NCAAs as the number one seed. Their goal and mission has been to win a national championship. And if they come up short, and it's entirely possible because they're the three very good teams, despite what Jeff Walz wants to lead us to believe. And stop with the we don't get any respect card at Louisville. I've heard enough. You are a number one seed. There's a lot of respect for your basketball team. Stop it. You just haven't won a national championship. You're the only program there that does not have a national title. But to stop with the disrespect and nobody thinks we have a shot. We're number one seed in the tournament. Come on. But anyhow, back to South Carolina, Phil, I think it would be a massive disappointment for that program if they don't finish the deal this year. You go wire to wire through the regular season and into the Final Four as the number one team in the country. You've got to seal the deal. And that's where I actually think that Aaliyah Boston not carrying that double-double streak into the Final Four may actually work to their advantage, because all of the questions would have been, well, you're sitting at 27 consecutive double-doubles. Can you get to 28 against Louisville, 29 against either Stanford or Connecticut, and just continue this great run? I think a lot of pressure is off of her because she doesn't have to worry about that anymore. Now it's solely about the team and getting two more wins to finish off the championship.
Yeah, you might be right about that. Not that I never got the feeling it was riding on her all that much, even though there was a game as she was working her way towards the SEC record. And they were blowing out, I can't remember who the opponent was, but they were blowing out somebody at home, and she was a rebound short, and Dawn Staley put her back in the game so she could get that rebound and keep the record moving. But I never got the feeling from Boston when she was asked about it that it was weighing on her very much. You mentioned Jeff Walton. I mean, he has done a fantastic job. 15 years at Louisville. Look at his record. Almost, compare him and compare Dawn Staley at South Carolina. Dawn Staley wrapping up her 14th year with the Gamecocks, 364 and 105. And he's wrapping up his 15th year with the Cardinals, 414 and 112.
Yeah.
So he's had, as we know, really good teams. They're ranked number 4. You mentioned they're a number 1 seed. You compare some of the numbers comparable to South Carolina. In fact, where they are better is on the outside. They shoot the ball better than the Gamecocks, 46% to 43%. They're much better from 3, 36% to 31%. they are better from the line, 72% to 68%. Where the Gamecocks, of course, and they both play really good D. Louisville gives up 55. The Gamecocks give up 51. Where the Gamecocks will have had the advantage, we'll see if they have this advantage, is on the boards. The rebounding margin for the Gamecocks is 18 per game, best in the country. For the Cardinals, it's +5. And, I mean, that's where South Carolina, of course, has its strength. They don't rely on the outside game. They go inside and pound you and rebound you and stick it back. We'll see if Louisville has enough bulk and muscle inside to get some position and box out and get rebounds. If they do that and have their typical shooting game, then it could be a battle. They're also very good at turning you over. They average over 10 steals per game. So Gamecock guards have got to be careful with that basketball tomorrow night. We're going to hear from the coaches, Jeff Walsh and Dawn Staley, and Mike Morgan.
Jeff Walsh.
Beg your pardon?
We have to censor Jeff Walsh. He just spent the entire little bit that we have. I just think he wanted to throw in curse words as often as he could.
Oh, is there a lot of profanity in there?
Not terribly. Not what 50 years ago it would have been an issue. It's the D word that we've sort of gotten accustomed to, but he dropped it in there a couple of times trying to tell us all how great his team is.
Okay. All right. We'll hear from him and Dawn Staley. And Mike Morgan is back after his vacation that lasted, I think, about a month or so. He's back as he works his way now heavily into college baseball. He's got a series this weekend he'll be calling. We got all that coming your way, plus the latest in recruiting. A lot of interesting stuff happening in the recruiting world for you as well. We'll get into all that, too, coming up here on the program. Phone number, 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery. Lucky number if you want to join us here on the program. Since 2002, more than 2.1 million lottery-funded scholarships, such as Life Hope and Palmetto, have been awarded to South Carolina students. Learn more about the lottery's impact at sceducation.com/education. Playing for fun is a win for education.
I'm not like some whoop-de-doo executive chef. I consider myself more of a baker than a chef. I like working with my hands. I like turning regular ingredients into like something spectacular.
The South Carolina Education Lottery has funded over 450,000 life scholarships in our state, giving countless students a chance to answer their calling, just like Aaron. Your passion is our purpose.
Parents ask, what's the best way to save for college? I'm State Treasurer Curtis Losses, and my answer is always open a Future Scholar 529 college savings account. It's easy. You can get started online with any amount. It's flexible to adapt to your child's college dream. And you can deduct 100% of your contributions from the South Carolina state tax return. So what are you waiting for? Go to FutureScholar.com and see why it's the smart, easy way to save for college. FutureScholar.com.
Coming to you from an undisclosed location tonight, also known as home base, as we'll be on the road tonight and tomorrow night. Now, you were supposed to be behind the play-by-play mic tonight. What the hell happened?
It's a funny story, Phil. The season that will never end for Coastal Carolina men's basketball. We were chatting with Cliff Ellis last night, and I think you talked the scenario that has played out into existence because you mentioned the coach, everybody wants to play into April. Well, Coastal's going to get that opportunity to play into April because Fresno State, their opponent in what was scheduled to be tonight's championship game of the Basketball Classic, they were having trouble getting flights out here. It's only about 3,000 miles from Fresno, California to Conway, South Carolina. So they ultimately had to get a flight here to South Carolina today. They didn't think it was in their best interest to walk off the plane and then step on the floor and go play a championship game. So the schools agreed about, 10 o'clock last night to move the game to tomorrow night. And so now Coastal and Fresno State will play for the first time ever against one another in the Basketball Classic Championship game at 6 p.m. tomorrow evening at the HTC Center in Conway.
Okay. Tell us about this Fresno team that's coming across country.
I haven't had a chance to get too deep into their stuff. I was going to do some of that research today, and obviously didn't have to. But this is a team that's won over 20 ball games, and they've got some size, as Coach Ellis was pointing out last night. They sound a lot like Coastal in some regards. So I think it might be a good matchup for the Chanticleers because you're going up strength against strength. It looks like very big interior post presence for Fresno State, much like Coastal likes to play. I mean, everything that Coastal does runs through the post and it certainly goes through Isam Mustafa on the inside. So I think it's going to be a really, really interesting matchup. Now, Coastal did not fare all that well last year when they faced a team from California, when Pepperdine just blew them out of the building down in the CBI championship. So they're hoping history does not repeat itself and Coastal can find a way to pull this thing off and win. And I'm going out on a limb here, but I would think it would be the first ever basketball game at CCU played in the month of April.
Well, you know what? Unless they're playing in the Final Four, you shouldn't be playing in April. But this has been a loosey-goosey tournament from the get. I mean, you talked about that. I mean, no brackets and teams dropping out, and it's just been kind of a piece it together as they've gone along kind of event.
Yeah, it really has not had sort of what you would expect because we go into the postseason as fans of basketball. We know exactly what to expect. We get a bracket. We see our teams in there. We try and figure out who's going to get to the Final Four. And this tournament had none of that. Yeah. So former CIT, and you get the sense in some regards it was almost thrown together at the last minute. They were supposed to begin play with 32 teams. We actually started with 21. And then you had a couple of other teams back out, including Wofford. And Wofford was supposed to have played a game, and there was so much trouble about getting the Terriers and opponents. Wofford finally just said, you know what, this is not worth it for us. We're going to back out, and we'll get ready for the offseason. So, yeah, it's not your typically well-run NCAA-type tournament. Hopefully they've learned a lot from this year. And even the smallest things, Phil, I noticed for the first time on Monday when we were over in Mobile at South Alabama, they finally had stickers on the floor as a promotional tool to chat about the tournaments. They had the tournament logo on one end and Racism, who is their sponsor, for lack of a better term, on the other end. And that's the first time we've even seen that kind of stuff. So it's coming together at the last moment. So hopefully they've learned a lot. And if this tournament is able to stick around for another year or so, that they'll be much more prepared next year.
All right, we've opened up our phone lines, 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. If you want to join us here on Sports Talk, we have some time for your calls. And Pat's already corrected me on my first mistake of the night. My first mistake of the night was actually going on the air. But my second mistake of the night, it's no longer the Mercedes-Benz Dome. It's the Caesars Superdome. That's right. Caesars has taken it over. And is it the Caesars Manning Superdome or just the Caesars Superdome? Because the Mannings have gotten in bed with Caesars, right? The Archie Mannings, the Peyton Mannings, the Eli's, all those. I've seen them do commercials and stuff like that for Caesars. And they were cute commercials. I enjoyed the commercials. And let's see, Pat tells us bonuses for Dawn Staley, if his math is right, $580,000 in bonuses so far this season.
And
Not bad.
Wow. Corn, with that, I will admit, it's one of two numbers. They're very different. It's either 580,000 or 405,000, and maybe you can help me understand this. I have a breakdown of all the different bonuses, but for instance, if they make the NCAA tournament, she gets 25,000. For the Sweet 16, 50,000. 100,000 if they make the Elite Eight. 250,000 if they reach the Final Four. Since they did reach the Final Four, do you combine all those numbers, or does she just receive the highest of those numbers?
Yeah, I believe my understanding, and Chris, you can back me up here. My understanding would be she would get the 250. It's at whatever level you end at. So if she was only to make the tournament, she'd get that. But by going all the way, you get the 250. It's not added up as you go step by step.
No, that is correct. Yeah, I think you're spot on that. And you want to talk about how popular she has gotten. Sean Elliott, who is now the head football coach at Georgia State, of course, was an assistant coach and former interim coach at South Carolina as well. He's already tweeted out at Dawn Staley that he says, after you win this year's national championship, how about coming to Georgia State and coaching the men's team and making a little history there? Ooh. He goes on to say, I want the best coach in basketball, and you are the best. They are looking to replace Rob Lanier,
Yeah.
who is leaving Georgia State. But yeah, how about that?
Yeah. That's. I wonder how his AD feels about that. You want to do my job too, Coach? I mean, come on.
He hasn't won enough down there yet.
Yeah,
to
really.
start
I mean,
dictating terms.
he doesn't have that bank load of credibility just yet, but he's put that word out there now. Now he's putting the pressure on the AD, so that's interesting. Okay, well, you got to figure that if South Carolina didn't talk to her about the job, I mean, she's right here in your home office, right down the hallway. If you wanted to go that direction, you could have. Would another school be interested in trying to do that? Probably not. NBA maybe not college. Okay, we'll be back. We'll get to some phone calls coming up.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Much cooler this evening as we clear out from the rain. We'll dip down to 49 as our low temp. Tomorrow, the start of a string of beautiful days. It'll be sunny with a high of 71. And for the weekend, very nice. Mostly sunny skies all weekend. The high temps in the low to mid 70s and no rain until Tuesday at the earliest of next week. I'm Kevin Cohen with your On Point local weather.
Hey, it's Jay with the Melting Pot. Have you missed any special occasions in the last couple of months? Or are you planning a special occasion? What about graduation? That'll be here before you know it. And it's not just about a meal, it's sitting around a table and spending time together, reconnecting. When you come in, we encourage you to take your time, or you can just come in for dessert. We're still at 1410 Colonial Life Boulevard. Give us a call, 731-8500.
Balance of Nature's fruits and vegetables in a capsule, changing the world one life at a time.
The thing about me taking it is I am super healthy to begin with. I don't have any medical problems whatsoever. But I can tell you what I did notice was my hair, my skin, and my nails. They're even better. That is definitely noticeable. But I think the main thing I could say for it, and the reason I keep taking it, is because it keeps me healthy. I mean, I'm sold on it, and I'll always take it because it just keeps me in a healthy state.
Get a wide variety of all your daily recommended servings of whole fruits and vegetables without having to leave your home. Right now, Balance of Nature is offering free shipping and 35% off on any new preferred order. Call 800-2468-751. That's 800-2468-751. Or by going to balanceofnature.com and make sure to receive this special radio offer by using discount code BALANCE.
If you're like me, you're sick and tired of seeing these old TV stars, game show hosts, these athletes telling you how to save money on your Medicare and on your health insurance. These national toll-free numbers are overwhelming us. It's not that people don't need the service. They need good local customer service, not big box toll-free numbers. See, I work directly with Tim Hanberry right here at Medicare Blueprint in the Midlands. When it comes to my family, I want the best family plan. I'm not even on Medicare, but my mom is, so here's what I do want. Someone local to serve as my advisor on the plans and choices that I have, and someone to help mom with her Medicare. I want someone to help me pick the right plan, save me as much money as possible by knowing all the rules of the game. Medicare Blueprint starts the process with you. They will see it through. They answer all your questions. They call you back. It's the same folks helping you start to finish. Tim and his team are independent. They fight for you, not the insurance company. Online, it's MedicareBlueprint.com or call them 708-7398.
Are you looking for free checking and free savings? Dave Ramsey here, telling you to go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank that's so big they lose the ability to treat you like a human being. At Palmetto Citizens, you're not just a number, you're a member. Join today at any of their 14 locations or at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
If you're an avid shooter or you're new to shooting, Shooter's Choice is your paradise. A firearms specialty store with all types of firearms, ammunition, accessories, AR platform rifles, shotguns, hunting rifles, and much more. Shooter's Choice has the largest and best selection of firearms in the area. Shooter's Choice is the oldest, the most professional firearms dealer in the Midlands. They've served us for more than 30 years. family owned. They've never let themselves lose that hometown feel. You go into Shooter's Choice, you'll get experts who hunt and shoot. It's not like some big box store. Their staff has decades of experience. You just won't get this anywhere else. From the classics to the newest cutting-edge products anywhere in the firearms world, they buy, sell, and trade firearms. They have an indoor firing range for handguns and hunting rifles. If you don't want to spend the gas money, hop on ShootersChoiceSC.com and shop online 24/7. Whatever you choose, Shooter's Choice will make it easy on you. In West Columbia at 944 Sunset Boulevard or online, ShootersChoiceSC.com. Make it your first choice, your best choice. Make it Shooter's Choice.
A well-regulated humidor being necessary to the preservation of a cigar, the right of the people to keep and enjoy cigars shall not be infringed. For those who love a great cigar and want to spend time with others who are like-minded, the Cigar Militia offers the experience you're looking for. We're located in the Colonial Village next to the Melting Pot. The Cigar Militia offers exceptional cigars from around the world, staff to assist you in your selections, private cigar lockers, and a lounge where members can relax and enjoy.
Sports Talk here on a Thursday night. Phil Kornblut along with Chris Bergen and Pat Daniel as we head into the latter part of the week. Looking forward to a big weekend, busy weekend. South Carolina football, we heard from some coaches today, some of the assistant coaches, talking about things at their particular positions. Of course, Clemson had a scrimmage yesterday. We heard from Dabo Swinney last night. And Gamecocks will have their first big scrimmage of the spring coming up on Saturday. There'll be no media after that. Next media from the Gamecocks will be next week. Coming up, we're going to hear from Dawn Staley, USC women's basketball coach, getting ready for the Final Four matchup with Louisville, and some comments from Jeff Waltz, head coach of the Cardinals as well. And Monty Lee in our second hour around 7:30, previewing the Tigers at NC State. Mike Morgan on the move. A little bit after 7 o'clock, we've got recruiting coming up for you as well. We'll get to our Founders Federal Notebook, too. We go to Bruce in Columbia. I'm sorry, let's make that Andy in Columbia. Andy, you're up first. Welcome into Sports Talk. How are you?
I am just wonderful and honored to be the number one caller today to your wonderful show.
Thank you.
I hope y'all are doing well. Chris, I blame you for no KFF tomorrow since you have to work the game, so I'm very disappointed in that.
I apologize, my friend.
There's plenty of KFF to come. Don't worry.
Praise the Lord. A few things for you there, Mr. Corn, while you're actually working, and I can ask you some questions.
Sure.
I mean, Shane Beamer throws out the, welcome home thing. How long ago? 3 weeks ago or something?
I'll be honest with
you. Are
these
kids ever going to say, hey, we're home?
I'm lost. I'm lost on how many are hanging out there. Aren't there 3 out there or 2?
At least 2. At least 2.
I'm
there
thinking
might
there's
be
one
third.
still hanging over from January. I mean, really, I've kind of lost track.
Well, the funny thing was the one kid who, got into a little bit of problems, who said he was coming home here that, never actually materialized. You remember who I'm talking about, the one with the gun issue? And then.
You mean Javante McClendon from down in Florida?
Yeah. Because remember he did kind of make it say that he was coming home to Columbia or something at one point. And
but I'm not counting him. I'm not
No,
counting him in
I'm
those
just saying
tweets.
he was doing his own welcome home, and he wasn't welcome home.
But his not being there has left a spot open for him to probably get wide receiver Corey Rutger, who would take that last spot in the class. Would be my understanding.
Yeah, and we just Mama just has to approve, and we'll be in good position there, hopefully.
We got an update on him coming up in recruiting, so stay tuned for that.
I always stay tuned for your recruiting because it's always quite the moving, exciting part of the evening, other than when you're not here. One last thing I think I better throw out, because considering what happened this weekend with Mark Kingston and his baseball team, and I didn't make a prediction, it just didn't seem to work. So let me say this. Starting tomorrow and the 3 games coming up, this team will either come back from Missouri having an 0-3 or a 1-2 series. Is my prediction.
0-3 or 1-2. So you don't have confidence in any other pitchers besides Will Sanders?
Well, let me put it to you this way, Corn. The last time I said that was the Texas series and the Vanderbilt series.
So you're just trying to do the reverse jinx.
Well, every time I don't say anything, they lose. And another thing is they've already lost 3 midweek games.
Mm-hmm.
How many more midweek games can this team afford to lose? Because
0.
As we know, midweek games will keep you out of. I mean, I don't think this team has a chance. And I won't say the word because I don't want Mr. Cohn to get mad at me for using the words on the air. But I don't think this team has any kind of chance whatsoever of seeing the playoffs this year. And with this new thing that happens with the board of trustees being mad about payouts, how much more money do we owe Kingston? Because I got a feeling now we're going to be stuck with the bum for a few years.
I don't know his contract off the top of my head, but I'm glad you brought that up. And thank you for the phone call. I'm glad you brought that up.
Have a nice night.
Yeah, you too.
You too,
I
Andy.
wanted to touch on that for just a moment because I hear what you're saying. But again, the legislatures who have hammered board members over paying off contracts, do they not understand? And I know most of them aren't very bright. They're not the sharpest tools in the shed. They're not the brightest bulbs on the tree. Okay, with all due respect, they don't get it that that's not tax money. That's not state money being used. Yes, I know it doesn't feel good, sound good, smell good, taste good to pay off coaches, but that is the price of major college athletics. And first of all, legislature, you should keep your big fat nose out of it. That's been the problem in South Carolina for these 100+ years, is the legislature always having something to say about what happens at the University of South Carolina athletic department. Okay, I mean, do your job about fixing the damn roads and let Ray Tanner run the athletic department. That might be a better way to do things, to be quite honest with you. But if you want to stick your nose in it because, that's the way the government is, remember, it's not any of your money, my money, tax dollar money. The money they're spending is the money that they raise from their fans and from their ticket sales and from their television contracts and everything else they have as revenue streams. Every school in the SEC, if you want to put on your big boy pants and play in the SEC, every school in the SEC has money set aside to pay off coaches because they fire them every 3 or 4 years in most cases. It's a very charmed situation where you have a coach stay 10 years, like Frank Martin, or like you had at Clemson with Brad Brownell going on what now be 12 years going next year, I believe, and Dabo Sweeney with his long run at Clemson. And believe me, Clemson's got money set aside too. It's how you do business in major college athletics. Buying out contracts. I cannot believe some of the idiocy. Do these people really? Do they not know what? If you're gonna grill somebody on why they're doing something, do you not think somebody, maybe one of your little college interns, could have looked it up for you and told you that having buyouts in contracts is how the business works? You're not going to get a coach to come without a buyout in the contract. I mean, that's just South Carolina didn't invent that, but they're part of the system. And Clemson has buyouts in their contracts. Oh my, wake up to that. Clemson has to pay off coaches too if they ever fire them. So my point is, you hammering these guys over this. It's not your money, okay? It's the money that the university and the athletic department gets from various streams, and they put X amount away aside, knowing they may have to use it one day. And I think they're just totally, lost their minds over this thing. It's so political over there in dealing with South Carolina from the Caslin issue on through. And, it goes back to last year when Ray Tanner wanted to make the move with Frank Martin then as the head basketball coach, and politicians got involved with that. And the questioning was about the same stuff. And Caslin told him right then and there, this was not state money. This was not taxpayer money. It's money that they have put aside for that very reason. And they're questioning, well, why did you pay off? Now you can question, I guess, the sanity of some of the contracts that they write, but they'll just tell you that's what the marketplace is, Chris. They'll just tell
No
you
doubt.
we had to pay. We paid Muschamp what we had to pay because that's what the marketplace was, and same thing with Don Staley. And well, they're setting the marketplace really. Don Staley's actually, I guess, kind of setting the marketplace for the most part. But anyway, politics over there in South Carolina is really rearing its ugly head once again here at the end of March, and I think people are seeing in full color what it's been like in that situation going on, 100 years now. And will it ever end? Will it ever end?
I just really love your childhood innocence when it surprises you that anyone in Congress acts like an idiot.
Oh.
They're pretty much all that way. And these people who are, and I'm going to hold all of them accountable for this. These are the same people who don't want term limits, but are going to get upset when coaches get fired. Hey, you guys should know as much as anybody about long time wearing out your welcome. And there's not a whole lot outside of us voting you out that we can do to get rid of bad politicians. At the State House and up in Washington, they're full of them. And thank goodness we don't have to buy them out. We could vote them out. Now, unfortunately, that doesn't always happen. But I did appreciate you still trying to hold some sort of semblance of honor with the folks in Washington and in Columbia when they don't deserve it.
It's tough to do.
Really don't
And
deserve
what's
it.
really funny to me, Chris, and this is so gamecockish, is that one of the guys leading the hammering of the trustees in that hearing this week was none other than Dick Harpootlian, who is like a huge Clemson guy. You don't think he got a lot of joy out of hammering old, over-the-hill Gamecock Board of Trustee members?
Sure.
Especially, the Williams guy who wanted to, cough up all kind of criticism of things that were going on. Now, let me say this, we make fun of the Board of Trustees at South Carolina because they're easy to make fun of. With all due respect, they are great people on that board. I mean, you've got heart surgeons and you got all kinds of doctors and I guess, successful people in various walks of life, lawyers, I guess, got a lot of lawyers on there and doctors and things like that, and some politicians too. I mean, they've done great things in their lives only to damage it by being on the USC Board of Trustees. I mean, I don't know why you'd want to step into that cauldron. I guess ego. I think ego more than anything else. They love the feeling of the power, I guess, they think they have by sitting on the USC Board of Trustees. I mean, individually.
Well, that's politics across the board.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not criticizing their personal lives and what they've achieved because, they are impressive individuals. A lot of money, a lot of success in their walk of life. I tip my cap to them on that. But that's off the table when you're talking about making decisions. And I'm talking about the athletics. I mean, whatever decisions you make about the medical school, the biology department, and anything else over there, that's something that I don't really get involved with or care about. But when you start making your decisions about the athletics department, then you get our attention. And then when the state lawmakers start sticking their nose into the athletic area, that's when you get our attention as well. And, back off, fellas, back off. Go fix the damn potholes on I-95 in Jasper County. They could really use some attention.
Boy, that's the truth. How about 6-lane I-95
Well,
all the way
that'd be
south
nice.
from Florence to Georgia? That'd be nice, too.
Yeah, I've been talking about that. That'd be nice as well. Let's go to Bruce in Columbia up next here on Sports Talk. Bruce, welcome in. Good to have you with us.
Well, thank you, Phil, for finally taking my call.
Yes, sir. Been kind of backed up. How are you?
Well, that's all right. You got everything out, I think, I hope. The big debacle for Clemson University was buying out Tommy Bowden's contract midway through the season.
Yes, they did. They had to pay him off.
It was ridiculous. I don't know why they even went through that ordeal with him. I knew he wasn't going to do a thing.
Yeah, they gave him a long-term. I remember that was one of the few mistakes I guess you could say Terry Don Phillips made was he gave Tommy Bowden that long contract with a big buyout, and Clemson had to eat a big portion of that. But again, my point is they have the money. They put the money aside for that purpose, and they used it for that. It wasn't state money. It wasn't tax dollars.
Anyway, that's not what I called about. The other day you were talking about how UConn had the favorite because they played in near their college you know,
They played in
State.
Bridgeport.
Yes.
Yeah.
Girls. Anyway, now those games up there were just unreal. I mean, the whole tournament has just been one of those things a sportsman should love to watch and to watch over again too, because the skill level was over 10. Anyway, um, you know, you brought up that idea and how they won the game in double overtime. Now, just think about this. I think UConn's going to win the championship. And I think Paige Becker is going to show her skills and everybody. Because what's going to happen, her family is from that state. They're playing in. And you don't think everybody in that state's going to be watching or coming to the game?
Yeah, that's right. She is from Minnesota. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But
So
you know,
I'm
I mean,
excited about
she's an excellent player. But I really think, and thanks for your phone call, I really think between Destiny Henderson and Zaya Cook, Chris, that they can defend her. I mean, they're good defenders. I mean, South
They're not going to have to
Carolina's
worry about
great
Connecticut.
defensively.
Yeah, South Carolina is not going to have to worry about Connecticut. I don't see them beating Stanford. I think Stanford is really, really, really good. And Gino Ariema was talking about it the other day about their length and how much and how difficult they are to move the basketball against. I don't know that Paige Beckers is going to have quite the game that Bruce was just discussing. I really think Stanford pulls off that win tomorrow, and we may get a rematch of the Gamecocks and Cardinal, but this time in the national championship game.
Hey, thank you for your phone call. We got to get to a break. As we do, let me tell you about the pitching rotations for South Carolina, Missouri, Clemson, NC State. For the Gamecocks, same as last weekend. Noah Hall, 0-4. Will Sanders, 4-1. Matthew Baxter, 1-1. They'll be facing right-hander Spencer Miles, 2-1. Left-hander Tony Newbeck, who's 2-1. And right-hander Austin Morosis, no record. They all have pretty heavy ERAs. And for Clemson, it will be their normal three of Anglin, Hoffman, and Clayton starting against NC State this weekend. We'll be back in just a moment.
Show your team pride wherever you go with Founders Federal Credit Union's collegiate debit cards. Get your University of South Carolina and Clemson University debit cards at any Founders office or by calling 1-800-845-1614. Plus, our debit cards are digital wallet ready, so you can pay however you please. Not a member? Visit relaxjoinfounders.com or one of our 37 convenient locations to see if you qualify for membership. Terms and conditions apply. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. I love sports, and I've helped people for over 30 years. Contact me at jim@jimcorbettattorney.com when the insurance company won't pay your claim or you have complicated issues. Some other business causes your business to lose money, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. When you lose a relative and find out you got cut out of a will or don't get what was promised. When you have serious injury, like from a wreck or mishap or on the job, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com.
Beautiful here in South Carolina after this storm moved through, and I hope you can get out and enjoy the weekend, and maybe you'll get down to the beach this weekend, maybe next weekend or in the future. And if you're looking ahead to making your summer plans for vacation and you want to get to the Grand Strand, make sure you give Jimmy Smith at James Smith Realty a phone call. That number is 843-237-4246, so you can go online to Paulie'sVacationRentals.com. They've got their hands on all the big properties down along the Grand Strand in Litchfield and in Pawleys and Garden City and Surfside down towards Georgetown. You want to rent a condo, you want to rent a house, you want something big, you want something small. Maybe you want to buy a house, or maybe you have property at the beach you want to sell, and you want the very best in the business to move it for you. Simply call James Smith Realty. That phone number is 843-237-4246, or visit Paulie'sVacationRentals.com. That's our man Jimmy Smith, and you will have your perfect beach getaway working with Jimmy and his folks down along the Grand Strand. Okay, we continue with your phone calls. we've got coaches coming up. We've got Monty Lee coming up. We got Mike Morgan coming up. We got some Dawn Staley coming up as well. As we go to Keith in Camden. Keith, welcome in. How are you?
Hey, Phil. How y'all doing tonight?
Man, we couldn't be finer if we weren't in Carolina.
There you go. Well, I agree with the comment your partner just made. I mean, Stanford's going to be the team to beat. But let me ask you this, and then
Let me ask both of you this. Let me ask
Yeah.
both of you this, since you obviously have scholars of women's basketball.
Absolutely.
What gives Stanford, in your mind, the edge over UConn?
I think number one, their guard play and their two big girls play like guards.
Mm-hmm.
I just think they're the most talented of the four teams left.
More
Maybe wrong.
More talented than the Gamecocks.
Yes.
Even though the Gamecocks beat them head to head, though they trailed by 14, I know, but they beat them head to head.
Yep. Well, I mean, I'm pulling for Carolina, but I still believe the best team is Stanford. But let me ask you this. You know, I talk about Ray Tanner. I talk about break down the channels of power and decision making. What is the order in which things take place? How many trustees are they? How long are they on there? And when a decision's made, does Tanner make it and then go beg the trustees for support? What is the structure of the organization when it comes to key decision making, when it comes to coaches, contracts being hired or fired? Could you talk about that a little bit?
I
Love
will.
the show.
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. And Chris, be sure to chime in here if I get off track. You got something you want to add. But first of all, Board of Trustee members at South Carolina, we're talking about them. They're basically political appointments. They are voted on by the legislature, and this is done, I believe, every 2 years. And there is no term limit. You can be on there for a long, long time if you want to run. And of course, it's a lot of the good old boy system where friends help out friends, a lot like the way judges are done here in South Carolina. Judges are voted on by the legislature, not by popular poll. So that's how they get there. And as far as how it's supposed to work, to my understanding, the athletic director, Ray Tanner or Eric Hyman or Mike McGee, whoever, answers to the president. And, when he's got a guy that he wants to hire, he takes it to the president, and the president signs off on it. The only role the Board of Trustees is supposed to have, to my understanding, is signing off on a contract that is of more than $250,000, I believe. They have to sign off on anything greater than that. Don't hold me to that exact figure, but I think that's what it is. Otherwise, they've got no role in it. They don't have to be advised. You don't have to ask them for permission. They don't have to be included in the process at all. That's totally up to the athletic director how much he wants to clue them in. If he wants to clue in the board chairman as to who he's talking to and interviewing, well, you do so at your own risk if you're trying to keep it quiet. But he answers to the president, which was obviously Pastides. Now, in this case this year, Chris, you got the unique situation that you've got a lame duck president.
Yeah.
You got another president coming in, and Pastides, and this has to be interesting for the new basketball coach Lamont Paris. I mean, he's being hired technically by a president who's not going to be there. He's leaving in June, I believe. And you got a new guy coming in. Now, I don't know if he consulted with the new president or not on this, but that's who the athletics director answers to. And the president, typically they give the AD the nod, go ahead with who you like because we trust you, and that's why you're in that position. That's the way it's supposed to happen. And I think what happened the last time around last year is too many board members were consulted on this attempt to make a change with the basketball coaching job then, and there were too many of them who were opposed to it, and they got all riled up and got the wheels turning to put a stop to it, and brought up the whole buyout thing and all that at that time. So that is how I understand how it works.
Well, and here's the other interesting side of this whole saga with regards to the Board of Trustees. Lamont Paris's hiring wasn't rubber stamped by the board either, because if I'm not mistaken, Charles Williams voted against the contract because of what we were just talking about, Phil. He felt the buyout clause was too large. So you come in as Lamont Paris, not only do you not know who you're going to work with, once the new president gets on campus at USC, then you can finally get to to meet him face to face. But then also you've got a board member who wasn't necessarily in your corner. How does that make you feel as you're stepping over?
I'm confused over why he would be opposed to that particular buyout. That's a buyout that's pretty much a staple around the SEC.
Right.
And it's 65% of your remaining. It's not some awesome amount of money, depending on how long he has left in his contract. It sounds like a good deal for South Carolina. It's 65% of what's left of the contract.
That's the principle of the thing.
I don't know. Well, maybe so, but I mean, you got to have buyouts in contracts. I think he does that. Okay, we'll be back. Go away.
By the way, before we do what's supposed to happen here, thank you for pushing the button. I thank you. Programming thanks you. America thanks you.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, and fireplaces. Spring Sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. President Biden says Russia's Vladimir Putin may have ordered some of his advisors fired or placed under house arrest. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
The president says there's not a lot of hard evidence, but there's some indication of growing tension in and around Putin.
He seems to be, I'm not saying this with a certainty, he seems to be self-isolated.
His comments come after the White House cited intelligence findings that Putin is being misinformed by his advisors about how badly the Russian military is performing. Mr. Biden also said there's no clear evidence that Russia is scaling back military operations around the Ukrainian capital. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Ukraine's state-owned nuclear power company says Russian forces have begun leaving the damaged Chernobyl nuclear power plant. The operator says the exit comes after soldiers got significant doses of radiation from digging trenches at the highly contaminated site. The move came as fighting continued near Kiev and other zones. Senator Lindsey Graham says he will vote against confirming Supreme Court nominee Ketanji Brown Jackson. Correspondent Bob Agnew reports.
Graham made his announcement from the Senate floor saying, quote, "I will oppose her and I will vote no." Graham says his decision is based on what he called her record of judicial activism, flawed sentencing methodology regarding child pornography cases, and a belief that Judge Jackson will not be deterred by the plain meaning of the law when it comes to a liberal cause. Graham's opposition means some additional procedural hurdles for the nominee, but it will not stop Ketanji Brown Jackson from becoming the first female African-American to sit on the nation's highest court. Bob Agnew reporting.
President Biden is ordering the release of 1 million barrels of oil per day from the nation's strategic petroleum reserve for 6 months in a bid to control energy prices. Mr. Biden says it's not known how much gasoline prices could decline as a result of his move. More at Town Hall.
Thinking about life insurance? What if you could make one free phone call and learn your best price from nearly a dozen highly rated, price competitive companies? Well, that's exactly what happens when you call SelectQuote Life. For example, George is 40. He was getting sky-high quotes from other companies because he takes meds to control his blood pressure. But when I shopped around, I found him a 10-year, $500,000 policy for under $25 a month. I'm SelectQuote agent Dan Savino. And believe me, if SelectQuote isn't shopping for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For a free quote, call 800-523-3771. That's 800-523-3771. 800-523-3771. Or go to SelectQuote.com. Since 1985, we shop, you save.
Get full details on the example policy at SelectQuote.com/commercials. Your price could vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
Russian troops are leaving the Chernobyl power plant and heading towards Ukraine's border.
Nuclear company Energoatom said the Russian military were also preparing to leave Slavutich, a nearby city where power plant workers live. The nuclear operator also said the Russians dug trenches within the exclusion zone and received significant doses of radiation. Energoatom believed the Russians panicked at the first sign of illness and decided to leave. The Russians apparently signed a document confirming the handover of the Chernobyl plant. I'm Karen Chamas.
Amazon workers in Alabama appear to have rejected a union bid in a tight race, according to early results. But outstanding challenged votes could change the outcome. Warehouse workers in Bessemer, Alabama voted 993 to 875 against forming a union. 416 challenged votes could potentially overturn that result. News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters in Washington.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Much cooler this evening as we clear out from the rain. We'll dip down to 49 as our low temp. Tomorrow, the start of a string of beautiful days. It'll be sunny with a high of 71. And for the weekend, very nice. Mostly sunny skies all weekend. The high temps in the low to mid 70s and no rain until Tuesday at the earliest of next week. I'm Kevin Cohen with your On Point local weather.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, and fireplaces. Spring Sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
Come on, hit it. Do it. You know you want to.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil, Chris, and Pat with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Hey, Chris, which game do you think will draw a bigger national audience tomorrow night? Coastal Carolina, Fresno State, or South Carolina women, Louisville?
I'm guessing the ladies' Final Four will draw a larger audience. First off, it's on linear TV and not on ESPN Plus, so that's a big advantage right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
So my guess is the Chanticleers will be dwarfed a little bit, but hopefully the radio coverage is a lot better. So that's all that matters.
I tip my cap to the best play-by-play announcer in the state of South Carolina. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Chris Bergen.
Thank you. But actually,
Except he
our
does not
next
record
guest,
his game, so we could not play that exciting, thrilling conclusion to the game the other night.
Yeah, that's my bad. You know, I should have figured it was coming down the stretch when it was 20 seconds left to go in the game, and it's a 2-point contest. And you figure Coastal probably going to try and win it right now because we're already in overtime. And how much longer do you want to play?
Yeah.
So,
well,
yep,
I'll be
my
happy.
mistake there.
I'll be happy to provide you with a Radio Shack cassette recorder. For future games.
You know, I somewhere in my house, I've got a box full of old tapes of games I've done. So
we all do.
Yeah, I could add that to the collection.
Yeah, old games, old shows. Aaliyah Boston won the Wade Trophy as the National Player of the Year. If you didn't already know she was the National Player of the Year, there's more evidence of that from another trophy coming her way. It is now time. We've missed him the last couple of weeks. He's been playing hooky. He's been on vacation, but now he's back, rested and tanned. He's got that perennial tan thing going now as we welcome in for another edition of Morgan on the Move, our man, once again, Mike Morgan. Good evening, Mike. How are you, sir?
I am doing well. Now that's a little misleading, that intro. That makes it sound like it was a full 2-week vacation. That's not entirely true. It was closer to a week.
Yeah.
The wife and I did a little trip to the Keys.
Nice.
I think the time before that, I was at Xavier calling the Xavier Florida NIT game, so I couldn't join you. And that was, I think that same day is when they hired Sean Miller, which, of course, put an end to all the South Carolina rumors at the same time. So, in a way, I was almost like I was freelance reporting for you, trying to follow that story while I was doing the game. So I wouldn't call that part vacation. And now I'm in Fayetteville, which is definitely not vacation, but beautiful country nonetheless. It was snowing this morning, and it's supposed to be 65 degrees for game time tomorrow for our game against Mississippi State.
Well, before we get into baseball, now that the dust has settled on SEC basketball rotation of coaches, I think we're done. I think we're done. Let's see. Georgia's got their guy. Florida's got their guy. Gamecocks got their guy. Missouri got their guy. LSU has got their guy. And Mississippi State's got their. I mean, almost half the doggone league's going to have a new coach next year.
Yeah, never seen anything quite like it. I predicted it was going to be a bloody off season this year. I did not predict that kind of turnover, and I mean nobody predicted Mike White leaving Florida for Georgia. Although, actually, you remember Terrence Oglesby, don't you?
Oh yeah, T.O.
from Clemson, who does a great job now. He's become quite a college basketball reporter on a national level. Does a lot of work for Field of 68 and others. I was just had some correspondence with him a few days before that happened, and he told me point blank, Mike White was looking. And I didn't really, I said, well, there's always talk that he's on the hot seat, so I wouldn't blame him, but I can't see him jumping. I had heard he wasn't going to get fired, but clearly the fans were just restless because he's not Billy Donovan, and again, who is. But he kind of was the first person that really let me believe that was a possibility. So that was the biggest surprise of all of them. All the other coaches that got let go, I mean, I don't think anybody was surprised by those moves, not if you were being realistic about the fact that, again, as I've said on your show before, SEC basketball now looks at coaching hires and fires the same way they do in football. You either get it done in a short window of time or we turn the page and move on to the next one. And that's just where we are in a sport now where the average coach makes about $3 million a year.
Buyouts be damned. I mean, they don't care. Whatever they have to pay, they're going to pay it and get the next guy in there and see if this one works.
Yeah, but while we're on that subject, I guess you're following that whole thing that's going on with the board of trustees.
No, we just spent 20 minutes debating that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're much closer to it than I am, and I don't know a ton about it. I just know that there were a lot of people on the board, and like a lot of other schools, there's certain people on the board that want to weigh in on who to hire and who to fire with coaches and so on and so forth. That's not endemic to just South Carolina, by the way. Yeah. But the thing that got me, I read somewhere where somebody insisted that we should no longer pay any buyouts to fire coaches. Welcome to the 21st century. You're not going to get away with not having a buyout in a contract for an SEC coach. I mean, you just wonder sometimes where the disconnect is, because if you don't know that's part of the ante up, if you're going to get any type of credible coach at that level, then you just don't know.
Well, think about this, Mike. That's coming from state legislators, okay? And some of those clowns will spend $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 on a campaign for a job that pays them what, 75 cents an hour? I mean, my point is all, and I'm exaggerating, of course, but my point in all that is, who are they to throw mud on a university for paying off coaches with their own money that they get through their revenue streams? When you're willing to spend all kinds of money just to have your little power run there as a legislator. So come on, give me a break.
And it's still amazing to me. And look, I'm sure you hear it every now and then from a caller or a tweeter. How many people still believe that coaching salaries and buyouts, that money comes from tax dollars?
Yeah.
Like they still actually believe that. I don't know who tells them that or what source of just complete fantasy that comes from. But the fact of the matter is, all these schools at this level, they don't need university money and they don't need tax money to hire and fire coaches. Now, obviously, COVID was a bit of a curveball, and that caused some unusual situations. And in fact, every SEC school basically took out, you wouldn't call it a loan, but basically leaned on future earnings to kind of fill the pothole that was caused by lack of revenues during COVID for sporting events. But for the most part, outside of a pandemic year, all these schools are more than self-sufficient. So when you get all upset about a buyout, just understand There's no tax dollars going to that buyout. And it's not that, that's less money for the professor of the history department at that particular school. This is all generated by massive revenues, most of which coming from TV, to all these schools in the SEC and the ACC that allows them to pay coaches what most people would consider exorbitant amounts of money. I get it. But when I read about a $12 million buyout here and a $23 million buyout there, yeah, of course, it's like, oh my goodness, that's crazy. But that's what the market bears. So to get all bent out of shape about that, you're wasting your time. Like, that's just the reality of where we are. And as the money continues to go up, and it will, you're going to see higher buyouts, not lower buyouts, not zero buyouts. The number will continue to grow.
And while they continue to waste their time on that topic, Mike, our potholes on our interstates keep getting bigger.
Yeah. Hey, that's another thing that's not just in your neck of the woods. I could point to that in Atlanta as well.
Oh.
And yeah, there's no question about that.
All right, Mike Morgan.
How did we get off on that subject? I don't even know.
It's the politicians and all of us wanting to express our feelings.
There you go.
Mike Morgan with us. Morgan on the move, and we've got more. Of course, the Final Four this weekend, Chris. And I know you wanted to get into something with Mike about the Final Four.
I did actually, but I wanted to circle back real quickly, Mike, if I may, to the SEC hires and just get your opinion. And I realize all of these are crapshoots, but if you had to look from afar, which school do you believe got the best of the bunch in terms of the hirings for men's basketball in the SEC?
Well, it's a good question, but it's harder to analyze this one than it was the last kind of major go-round of hirings and firings. You remember the last time we had guys like Rick Barnes being hired, proven commodity. Ben Howland, 3 Final Fours at UCLA, proven commodity. Even Mike White had been a hot name for quite some time when Florida hired him. And so you had all these rather big names that were coming in that you knew a lot about. This cycle was entirely different. This is the cycle of which mid-major coach that does not have nearly the proven resume is going to succeed and which isn't. Nobody knew who Todd Golden was when Florida hired him. And that's another one. We actually interviewed him in the middle of that Xavier Florida game. So I've got 2 schools that had interim coaches that had just hired their new coaches who weren't coaching the game. So that's a little bizarre. And Golden's a guy who's 36 years old and led the University of San Francisco to a tournament. Other than that, I didn't know much about him. I had to read up on him. How many people know who Coach Paris was a few years ago? I did, just because I'd done some Southern Conference tournaments, but he was not a household name. Neither was the coach from New Mexico, or New Mexico State, I should say, that took the job at Mississippi State, and so on and so forth. So I could give you an answer and pretend like I know who's going to be the most successful of that group. But the truth of the matter is I don't, and nobody else does. It really is I would call it an educated crapshoot. Like, all of those coaches earn the opportunity. There's not a bad hire in the bunch, but I can promise you this, I'm just playing the odds. Some of them are going to fail miserably and be fired in 3-4 years. And there'll be 1 or 2 that nobody saw coming, much like Nate Oates and Eric Musselman of Alabama and Arkansas. Those 2 hires were not celebrated at all by their fan bases, and now they're 2 of the more successful coaches in the league. So a couple are going to work out, a couple are going to fail, and that's just who time will tell in the next 2, 3, 4 years which ones it'll be.
All right, let's get to proven commodities. The Final Four this weekend in New Orleans, as blue blood teams as you could possibly get, with the exception of Kentucky not being involved. And Phil and I were chatting about this a little bit earlier, Mike, about the North Carolina Duke game. And to me, that's going to be such a great ball game. But if you're a fan of either one of those teams, it's your worst nightmare. Because if you lose, your team loses, you'll never, ever hear the end of it from the other side. How do you see that game playing out, and how much fun should the fans have getting an opportunity to see something we've never seen before?
Well, first off, you're spot on. The loser of that, because think about, imagine if Carolina, that is the Gamecocks, the ones that you guys care about.
There's only
if
one.
They exactly. I know it well, having spent 10 years there. But imagine if it was Carolina Clemson in the Final Four, Gamecocks and Tigers in a Final Four matchup. I realize we've had that a couple of times in baseball, but it's really much harder to have that in basketball. And even though those are two blue bloods, we may never see that again. So the loser is going to have a hard time getting revenge because they might not meet in the Final Four for another 50 years. No, hey, look, I think it's good for the sport overall. I think the fact that we have 4 tradition-rich programs in the Final Four is not a bad thing. I think we love the dark horses in the early rounds, the upsets in the early rounds. St. Peter's was a great story. But quite frankly, I don't need St. Peter's in the Final Four because I don't think they were going to be able to compete with these teams. And it's not just it's not that matchup in a vacuum. It's being able to win 6 consecutive games. You have to be immensely talented to do it. And all 4 of these teams are just that. They're immensely talented. They're well coached. So I think it's going to be a fun Final Four. I still think Duke is the best team left. I think they're the most talented. I think they have the most talented player of any of the 4 teams in Banchero. Forget about the fact of the Coach K storyline. That's a great storyline, but even if it wasn't his last year, to me, they're the best team left in the field.
All right, Mike, we'll let you get to the fun in Arkansas. You got some great baseball ahead of you, and we'll talk more in depth about baseball beginning next week with the Braves and Major League Baseball cranking up and the SEC races heating up. We thank you as always. Good to have you back, tanned and rested, and we'll talk to you next week.
Okay, guys. Sounds good.
Thanks, Mike.
Morgan on the move. Some major news out of Florida football coming from Billy Napier. Redshirt freshman tight end Gage Wilcox suffered a potentially career-ending injury during a spring practice. He was not at practice any of the last 4 sessions. Not clear when he got hurt or what happened. Very unfortunate is what Napier said. That's part of the game, though. And he's a former outstanding prospect, played in 2 games as a true freshman, did not catch a pass. So that's a tough blow there for an already thin tight end room there at Florida. Okay, we're going to hit a break on Sports Talk. Then the words of Dawn Staley. Let you hear from her. And we've got recruiting coming up. Monty Lee's coming up. Also going to try and work in some of the comments of Jeff Walks, the Louisville basketball coach on the women's side as well. Hey, if he's so good, why didn't the Louisville men's team hire him? They've had a need for coaches over there, quite a few, since he's been on the women's side. We'll be back after the break.
Parents ask, what's the best way to save for college? I'm State Treasurer Curtis Losses, and my answer is always open a Future Scholar 529 college savings account. It's easy. You can get started online with any amount. It's flexible to adapt to your child's college dream. And you can deduct 100% of your contributions from the South Carolina state tax return. So what are you waiting for? Go to FutureScholar.com and see why it's the smart, easy way to save for college. FutureScholar.com.
The countdown is on, and Columbia Fireflies baseball is right around the corner. Join us at Cyber Park for Fireflies opening night Friday, April 8th at 7:05 p.m. as the Fireflies battle in-state rival Atlanta Braves affiliate, the Augusta Green Jackets. Make sure to stick around after the game for Fireworks Spectacular. Fireflies opening weekend continues Saturday, April 9th with our royal celebration and another post-game fireworks show. Bring your whole family for Sunday Funday where kids can run the bases after the game. Tickets start at just $5. Visit FirefliesTickets.com to get your tickets today.
Hi, this is Phil Kornblut of Sports Talk here with Major Billy Downer of the Department of Natural Resources. What words of wisdom do you have for those hitting the water this summer?
Phil, collisions can be prevented easily if every vessel operator fulfills 3 major responsibilities. 1, practice good seamanship. It's the responsibility of every boat or PWC operator to take all necessary action to avoid a collision. 2, keep a proper lookout. Failing to keep a sharp lookout is the most common cause of boating collisions. And finally, maintain a safe speed. Remember, boat safe, boat smart.
Don't know, today was Shane Beamer's birthday. I
Hey.
didn't know that, but Brett McMurphy just tweeted it. Well, he tweeted it 7 hours ago. He's 45 today. Starting to
really?
age a little bit, though, I'm telling you. You know, the dark hair and the fullness of the hair that he had when he got here starting to get a little thinner and a little grayer. Of course, he is, like I said, 45 now, so it's about that time. His dad, of course, is totally gray, so he'll probably go that direction. There's nothing wrong with that. I think gray is a beautiful color, to be quite honest with you.
That's what happens, Phil, when you work 30 hours a day, 9 days a week.
That'll do it to you. That'll certainly do it to you. You and I know. Dawn Staley, her hair is not gray, and she doesn't look a day over 30, though I think she's like 51. Here she is today up at the Final Four press conference and up in Minnesota, up in Minneapolis, talking to the media there about the matchup with Louisville, her team, and moving on to the Final Four. Here's Dawn Staley.
Super excited to be here. Congratulations to all the other teams, and actually congratulations to everybody that made it to the NCAA tournament. They provided an opportunity for us to represent on the third weekend of our tournament, and we hope to make everybody proud by putting on a competitive game and an exciting game, because that's what our fans deserve.
Coach, you guys had probably one of the toughest schedules in the entire country. You've withstood handling the pressure of being the number one team in the country all season. I was curious, what goes into that mindset of knowing, okay, you're going to get the opponent's best every single night? And then two, how much did that schedule prepare you for the moment, prepare the team for the moment they're in now?
I mean, we've played with this pressure for the past, actually, for all of the juniors, for all of their career here in South Carolina. And, you know that you're going to get everybody's best effort at different times, and, at different times in the game. We just settle in and knowing that it's going to happen. And especially at the beginning of basketball games where you're super hyped to play us and to beat us. But we got a poised group. We got a really focused core group of players who they just want to win. They're smart. They know it's coming, so they brace for it. And then, did our schedule prepare us? It absolutely did. I thought our schedule did a great job at giving us a variety of styles of play. Some we saw in the NCAA tournament, so we were very much prepared to play it. I got to credit our conference as well. The SEC, from top to bottom, challenged us every time that we stepped on the floor. So if you play in the SEC, it prepares you to compete for national championships, and we're sitting here because of that.
You guys have led the nation in attendance every year, I believe, since 2015. Obviously, winning has played a role. But what are some of the factors as to why the Gamecocks women's basketball team has been able to captivate the community so much and develop such a great fan base down there?
I mean, it's about building relationships, and what we've done, a long time ago was just mom and pop it, actually. Mom and pop it. You spoke about, what the budgets are for men's and women's basketball for marketing. Stark difference. Even on our campus, stark difference. So we took matters in our own hands. We invited our fans into our offices. We create opportunities for them to get to know us as people, and then in return, word of mouth. They bring friends. They buy season tickets just to invite people to our games. And once you come into our environment, it looks like no other. It looks like no other sporting event on our campus. And that's a mixture of all kinds of races and ethnicities. And I know a lot of friendships have been forged because of, the environment that we create within our arena. So it is access. We give our fans access to us, and in return, they fill our arena.
I wondered if you could talk about Destiny Henderson a little bit. I wondered, when you go out and recruit point guards, are you looking for someone who was like you as a player?
We started recruiting Destiny Henderson, not as a toddler, but she was that small. You would think she, um, it, her mom, we built a relationship with. She came on campus with her AU program, and we offered her, I think she was probably maybe 8th, 9th grade. And then we just followed her and forged a relationship with both of them. And she told us very early on in the process that she was coming, stayed committed to us throughout just, freshman year. That is, you want to forget. I know it's a part of her journey, but you want to forget because she didn't have a really strong experience for one reason or another.
All right, comments from Dawn Staley from the press conference up in Minneapolis today, leading up to the tip with Louisville tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. We'll get to some of the comments from the Louisville coach coming up after recruiting after this break. We're going to catch up with Monty Lee, the Clemson baseball coach, find out what happened in Pittsburgh last weekend. And have the Tigers figured some things out going into NC State this weekend.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Much cooler this evening as we clear out from the rain. We'll dip down to 49 as our low temp. Tomorrow, the start of a string of beautiful days. It'll be sunny with a high of 71. And for the weekend, very nice. Mostly sunny skies all weekend. The high temps in the low to mid 70s and no rain until Tuesday at the earliest of next week. I'm Kevin Cohen with your On Point local weather.
When you think about spring, good stuff springs to mind. Like spring break. Woohoo! A friend springing for drinks.
Thanks, dude.
A spring in your step. Spring fever.
Oh, behave.
And best of all, spring water dough pizza from the Mellow Mushroom Pizza Bakers.
Yeah, baby.
Experience the taste of spring with our amazing hand-tossed pies, spring fresh salads, and over 100 beers from around the world. Enjoy spring at the Mellow Mushroom in the Vista and on Sunset in Lexington.
Balance of Nature is fruits and vegetables in a capsule, changing the world one life at a time.
I'm a retired firefighter, and I have been retired for about 6 years. I've had a lot of damage done to my body over the course of my employment, and I'm coming up on my first-year anniversary of taking Balance of Nature. And I'm agile and energetic, and the doctors and the physical therapists are amazed. They're like, you don't even need us. I don't think I would be doing half as well as I'm doing if I hadn't had extra nutrition from Balance of Nature to help my body heal itself.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature right now. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com for more information or to place your order. Shipping is always free. And don't forget to get 35% off your first order as a preferred customer by using discount code BALANCE.
You know what? I get asked every now and then, Kev, when you say my guy, do you really have a my guy at Palmetto Exterminators? Well, I really do. Ron Byers is my guy. Do you realize I've been a customer of Palmetto Exterminators for 20 years this summer? That's over the course of 3 homes, longer than my kids have been around. I'm loyal to Palmetto Exterminators for several reasons. First, they do a phenomenal job with pest control for a very fair price. It's just not a concern around my home. They take care of everything from regular visits to termite inspection, mosquito care. This is a company that's been around for more than 60 years serving the Midlands. When they come around, they're clean, they're courteous, and they're on time. Look, it's not just me. When it comes to things like those pesky mosquitoes, Palmetto Exterminators voted best of Columbia in Columbia Metropolitan for their mosquito control. I could have told you that before anyone even voted. What else can you possibly need from your pest control company? If you're looking for someone to help you, look no further than my guy, Ron Byers, Palmetto Exterminators. Online, it's palmettoexterminators.net or call them 254-5833, 254-5833.
A well-regulated humidor being necessary to the preservation of a cigar, the right of the people to keep and enjoy cigars shall not be infringed. For those who love a great cigar and want to spend time with others who are like-minded, the Cigar Militia offers the experience you're looking for. We're located in the Colonial Village next to the Melting Pot. The Cigar Militia offers exceptional cigars from around the world, staff to assist you in your selections, private cigar lockers, and a lounge where members can relax and enjoy.
Hi, this is Marcia Clayman.
And I'm Karen Pickard. We're your hosts for the Positive Point on Aging.
We'll talk about aging gracefully and senior care every Tuesday morning from 8:30 to 9 o'clock a.m.
Join us right here on the Point for the Positive Point on Aging.
Brought to you by Oakley Village of Lexington.
When you're a military veteran with over 40,000 organizations trying to help you, it can be hard to find the right information. That's why AARP brings together valuable resources to help you navigate your options. AARP.org/veterans. With the free veteran employment and fraud prevention resources, caregiving tools, and access to discounts, AARP, on a mission to support veterans. Visit AARP.org/veterans today.
Hi, Chris Neely here from the South Carolina Public Charter School District. Join me every Tuesday afternoon at 5:30 with Kev as we put our kids first. We'll answer all your questions about charter schools in the Palmetto State. Kids first, every Tuesday afternoon at 5:30 on The Point.
Hi, honey. Were you able to drop by True Pharmacy today to pick up Mom's medications?
Yes, she sure is on a lot of meds.
I know. That's why I go over so often, to help make sure she's taking them correctly.
Well, I have great news. The pharmacist at True Pharmacy said he can pre-pack her medications into individual doses.
Wow. Knowing she's taking the right meds at the right time will give me great peace of mind. But how much does it cost?
That's the even better part. It's free. Just another great service they offer at True Pharmacy. True Pharmacy, 2 locations, Charleston Highway in West Columbia and Divine Street downtown.
Baseball tonight. Auburn is playing at LSU, just getting underway. You've got Florida at Georgia tonight, 8 o'clock. 3-game series, weekend series, beginning tonight in SEC play. And speaking of baseball, let's welcome into Sports Talk once again head coach of the Clemson Tigers, Monty Lee. The Tigers getting ready for a big 3-game weekend series at home with some new green seats behind home plates. Some neat, comfortable green seats being replaced. This is the last time the Tigers play at home. They'll be taking on NC State beginning tomorrow night, looking to bounce back from a tough weekend up in Pittsburgh last weekend. Monty, good to have you with us. How are you?
I'm doing great, Phil. How are you?
Good. Good to have you with us. Thank you very much. Let's begin, since we haven't talked to you in a little while. Up at Pittsburgh last weekend, had to be, I don't know, tough conditions with the weather and everything else up there. I guess, baseball on the Pitt campus, kind of an afterthought. But what happened with your team up there, taking those 2 losses to the Panthers?
Yeah, we just got off the 2 really tough starts. England and Hoffman, we had to play a doubleheader, a 12 o'clock doubleheader on Friday, just due to some really tough weather conditions. It was, in the low 40s, 15 to 20 mile an hour winds on Friday, and that was the best day of weather we got. So we had to move the game up to a doubleheader. And, quite honestly, the weather, didn't have anything to do with the fact that we just didn't get off the great starts on the mound. We got behind. Their starting pitchers did a really good job. We were able to make a run in game 2 late in the game, but just couldn't quite hold them off and wound up dropping a doubleheader. And just overall just did not play well in Pittsburgh. And, it was good to see us bounce back. We had Winthrop on Tuesday. We got back on the road, went to Winthrop and played them there, and played a good baseball game. It was good to have Billy Barlow pitch very well. He had back-to-back tough starts in the middle of the week. And, hopefully, the fact that we pitched well on Tuesday night will bode well for us coming into this weekend, because we're playing, obviously, a great NC State Wolfpack team.
For sure. And, you've got yourself off to a little bit of a slow start in ACC play. You're 1-4 in league play at this point. So, I know you want to be careful not to get yourself in too big of a hole in league play, and that makes this weekend series crucial for you guys here early on in conference play.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I think our guys know it. We know it as coaches. Everybody knows it. It's no secret. We need to play well this weekend, and it starts tomorrow with Mac. Hopefully Mac can return to pitching the way he did up there at Founders Park and against Indiana, and he's had a number of just really, really good starts for us. And But he struggled a little bit the last two starts, and hopefully he can get the wheels going back in the right direction this weekend and get us all to a great start. I think we're definitely a team of momentum, good and bad. When we're going good, which we've seen that we can play good baseball, we're good. And when we struggle, we struggle. So it happens to every team throughout the course of the season, but we need to find some consistency, and it starts with starting pitching. It always has, and it always will. If we can get good starts out of our starters, our bullpen really has been a strength all year. I mean, we've pitched very, very well out of the bullpen, and our offense has been solid. There's certainly some areas that we need to improve upon on the offensive side, but overall, we have found ways to score, a decent amount of runs, over the course of the early season.
Monty Lee, head baseball coach at Clemson, joining us tonight. Tigers at NC State this weekend. And, Coach, I want to circle back to Mac Anglin, all-ACC freshman team a year ago. You talked about his performances against both Indiana and South Carolina, 17 strikeouts in those two games combined. But here of late, walks have really seemed to bother him. Are you seeing something different out of him mechanically over the last few ball games, or is it just he's just having tough luck like every pitcher goes throughout his career?
Well, I would say it's probably a little bit of both, but I think Mac's a very, very accountable guy. And I know Andrew, our pitching coach, has been working diligently with him to try to clean up any minor mechanical flaws and things that he sees. And, I certainly defer to him when it comes to the pitching side of things. But I know Mac had a great, I met with Mac today and some of the other guys, and, Mac felt like he had just a great week in terms of his routine, his day in, day out routine, and the process leading up to his start tomorrow. So it feels like he's in a really good place to bounce back and have a great start. But you're exactly right. It all boils down to the free 90. When Mac is pounding the strike zone and locating his fastball at the bottom of the strike zone and is able to locate his breaking ball and his changeup, he's pretty dang good. He's just struggled locating. He's been able to locate one of those pitches, just haven't been able to find both of them. And when he's got three, he's as good as anybody. So he just needs to work on his consistency, and hopefully, he'll come out tomorrow clicking on all cylinders and give us a great start.
I'm sure everyone around your organization is puzzled about Caden Grice right now at the plate. 227 average, only 4 home runs, 14 RBIs. 44 strikeouts, 17 walks. What are you seeing from him? You seeing any glimpses of him getting back to form?
Well, he's had a good week of practice, and we've been working very, very hard on trying to make some adjustments with him. And he's made quite a few over the course of this season, when it comes to mechanical things and things that we've seen, out of him over the course of last year and this year. We went back and tried to look at some old video and trying to help him make some adjustments with what we're seeing this year. And, to Caden's credit, he has stayed very, very positive through this process, which is a testament to what kind of young man he is. And he has had a really good week of practice. I think, the bottom line is he's being pitched much differently this year than he was last year. I think, teams, just understand, how to pitch him this year a little bit more so than they did last year. He's getting a lot of off-speed pitches, and quite honestly, he's chasing a lot of off-speed pitches out of the strike zone. He would tell you that. Just got to do a better job of waiting on his pitch and spitting on pitches that he can't handle. And I think that, anytime a hitter's going through a tough time, they tend to be either one of two things, overly aggressive or overly passive. And I would say he's probably just trying to do a little bit too much right now. But hopefully, based on the type of practices he had this week, hopefully we can get him going in the right direction, because we certainly need him. We need him and Brewer. Those two guys are critical for us. If we can get those two guys going, got a chance to have a really good offense.
For sure. And I know you used him for an inning on the mound at Winthrop, and I know you've been very cautious about using him on the mound. What's his status there? And do you see a guy like Ty Olenchuk, for example? Is he a guy who's working his way into a position of having more confidence from you guys to get the ball in critical situations on the weekend?
Well, Ty has pitched, and I don't have our stats in front of us, but I mean, if you look at Olenchuk, he's got to be leading us in appearances, or he's certainly up there. We have turned the ball over to Ty, quite a good bit, over the course of this season, and he's pitched some very, very meaningful innings for us. So, we really like Ty in the place that he's at in regards to his role. We feel like he is thriving in his role, and we would like to keep him in that role. Ty's certainly capable of being spread out and pitching multiple innings, but right now we like what we're seeing out of Ty in that 1 to 2 inning spurt. He's doing a phenomenal job there.
And Caden, any more with him on the mound from what you saw this past week?
Yeah. The hardest thing with Caden when it comes to pitching is when he's playing right field. For the whole game, we have to use him at the end of the game. So it has to be the right situation to use Caden. If it's a high leverage situation, we're probably going to go with Ammons at the end of the game. If we feel like we have a comfortable lead, that would be more of a scenario where we would go to Caden and pitch him. So it's really more situation dictated for Caden. Caden, his arm is. Hold on, sorry, I was turning the car around.
That's okay.
But he has a hard time when it comes to bouncing back. So when we pitch him, we have to be very cautious and make sure he feels okay, just because he's playing right field, every day for us. So, his arm's not always at 100% just because of the fatigue that sets in for being, a position player as well.
All right. And before we let you go, we have to congratulate you. 500 career wins from your time at College of Charleston and now at Clemson. And you're still a young guy. I don't want to hear this stuff about, I'm so old. I was bound to win 500 games at some point, because you're not so old yet. So, 500 and certainly many more to come. But that's quite a milestone in your 14th year as a head coach, 500 W's.
Well, I appreciate that, Phil. And, quite honestly, it is humbling. And no, I'm not old. And I feel great. I feel as good as I ever have. And I'm just, it's just one of those humbling things. I think from time to time, as a coach, you hit those little milestones along the way, and you just appreciate the opportunities that you've gotten. And I've been blessed to coach at some wonderful places, and I've been a head coach at the College of Charleston, my alma mater. Who gets a chance to do that in their career? And now I'm at Clemson, one of the best programs and best schools in the country. And it's been a wonderful ride. And hopefully I can continue to do it for a long, long time.
Well, I tell you, you need to make hay this weekend against NC State. You got a big game with Georgia on Tuesday, and then you're gone. You're on the road until April 20th. So Tiger fans need to go sit in those new seats and support you guys. They're not going to see you for a while after Tuesday.
Well, I always send a picture to our guys when we go on long road trips. We just got to be like Hawk and Animal, Corn. We gotta be the Road Warriors. So, hopefully our guys will be like Hawk and Animal, and we'll do some damage on the road. So there you go.
Well, we appreciate
Coach, do your players know who those guys are?
Well, probably not. I know you guys know who they are, but I know my players certainly don't. But, I have to explain that to them every time I put on our group meet with the whole team, Hawk and Animal from the Road Warriors. They never understand why I just send them a picture of two, crazy looking guys. But I have to explain to the guys, hey, we got to go be Road Warriors now. So it's just one of those little insights that I share with the team that I get some question marks on. And then when I explain it to them, they get it. So
that's great. Have a great weekend. Thank you again for joining us. We'll talk to you again in a couple of weeks. Always pleasure having you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on as always, Phil.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you,
Monty
Coach.
Lee from the Clemson Tigers. And here is a strange stat as we go to our break. I was just looking at Monty's record. This is hard to believe. Against ACC schools, Chris, breaking it down team by team, his worst record. Who would you think his worst record in ACC play is against?
Wow. if he were, a long tenured coach, I would have probably said Florida State, but they've fallen off since he's taken over at Clemson. Since you bring it up, I'm going to say NC State.
It's Duke.
Is it really?
1-9 overall against Duke. He's never won a game at home against Duke. He's 0-6 at Doug Kingsmore against Duke, and 1-2 away and 0-1 on a neutral field. So I find that one kind of shocking. Got to run to the break. We'll come back with recruiting and drop in, time permitting, a few comments from the Louisville head coach, Jeff Waltz, who's closing in on 415 career wins. He's at 414. Of course, John Staley, she's sitting on 536 career wins. Cliff Ellis is sitting on 895, in case you're wondering. We'll be back after the break.
Life, it has its ups and downs. Sometimes it's little things like hitting every red light or dropping your cell phone. Maybe it's the bills, rent, or pressure at work. But when it comes to the South Carolina Education Lottery, you should never feel like playing will solve everything. The lottery is a game. It's played for fun. So set a dollar amount. Expect not to win and make sure responsibilities, family, friends, and work come first. Visit PlayResponsiblySC.com.
The countdown is on, and Columbia Fireflies baseball is right around the corner. Join us at Segra Park for Fireflies opening night Friday, April 8th at 7:05 p.m. as the Fireflies battle in-state rival and Atlanta Braves affiliate, the Augusta Green Jackets. Make sure to stick around after the game for Fireworks Spectacular. Fireflies opening weekend continues Saturday, April 9th with our Royal Celebration and another post-game fireworks show. Bring your whole family for Sunday Funday where kids can run the bases after the game. Tickets start at just $5. Visit FirefliesTickets.com to get your tickets today.
Pro wrestlers from many years ago.
Oh, the Road
Yes.
Warriors.
The Road
Oh,
Warriors,
yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah,
Pro
yeah.
wrestlers.
Okay. I get it.
That shed a lot of insight into Monty Lee. That's pretty cool that he's a
That
pro
is.
wrestling guy.
That is indeed. Folks over at Sewell's, like, Gary Sewell and Cal Sewell, Robbie Sewell, they love wrestlers too. They're big wrestling fans, I think. Maybe not. I'm just making that up.
They are
Leaving
now.
their commercial. But I think if you asked them, they'd tell you they like WWE and all that kind of stuff. They were closed today for private partying, but they'll be open tomorrow, Pat. And I think it's a big Friday.
Your favorite Roast Beef Friday. They'll have the carved roasted sirloin of beef with gravy, southern fried chicken, and fried fish nuggets to go along with salad, dessert, and all the fixings you can handle.
Y'all like a lot of gravy. Do you put a lot of gravy on your roast beef? I'm kind of a heavy gravy guy.
The only thing I ever put gravy on is turkey.
Okay, I can see that. No gravy on your roast beef, huh?
No, I'm not a big gravy person, but I do like during Thanksgiving putting gravy on my turkey, rather.
Right.
That's
right,
about
right.
it.
Do you like the gravy that it comes with the turkey, or you like the gravy that's
Yes.
made on the side?
Ooh, I think I might take both, but I would say more than likely the stuff that's cut on the side.
How about you, Pat? You like gravy on your roast beef? Do you put gravy when you go? You'll be there tomorrow. I'll be out of town, unfortunately. You'll be there tomorrow, I'm sure, for Roast Beef Friday. Do you put a lot of gravy on your roast beef?
Just go ahead and give me a glass of gravy to go with my meal, and I'll be a happy camper.
Well, folks, you need to get out there tomorrow for Roast Beef Friday with gravy, RBFWG, okay? And don't pass on this, okay? Because you will be disappointed. I'm disappointed because I'm going to be out of town. I'm disappointed I can't be there. I will catch it another day. 11 to 2, best buffet in Columbia, only $12, 11 to 2 at Sewell's. And the best in the catering business, the good folks at Sewell's, 803-771-7385 is the number. A lot of stuff in recruiting. Tight end Reed McKeska, 6'6", 233, Cypress, Texas. Recently named as top 12. Clemson, USC are, of course, in that group. Alabama, Texas Tech, LSU, Miami, Florida, Michigan State, North Carolina, Baylor, Auburn, Tennessee. He visited Clemson earlier in the month, USC more recently. And just to summarize, he loved them both. He likes both tight end coaches, Kyle Richardson, Jody Wright. both are saying, man, you come here, you can play in a hurry. We can use you a lot of different ways. We can spread you out. We can attach you. We can H-back you, all kind of different things. They like his mobility. He likes both of them. They're going to be in the hunt with him for a little while as he continues through this process. And he has also been to Baylor and TCU, Michigan State, North Carolina, Michigan, Alabama, and Auburn. And he's going to go see LSU in Miami. Might be this weekend. I'm not 100% sure. I think I put in my story this weekend, but I might be jumping the gun on that. But he is going to go see LSU in Miami. Meantime, an update on Arkansas State transfer receiver Corey Rutker. Been a hot prospect in the transfer portal, John. And he's been to several schools, including USC. In South Carolina, remains heavily in touch. Shane Beamer, Justin Stepp, remaining constantly in touch with Texas. And Stepp, he says he talks to every day. He says it's still South Carolina and Utah State. He says he's still deciding between those two. He's coming back to Columbia for the spring game with his mother so she can take a look at things. Quiet women. So she can take a look at things because the dad came in with him for the official visit. So that'll be happening for the spring game in South Carolina. Looks good for South Carolina there at this point. Basketball graduate transfer, small forward Hayden Brown of the Citadel, 6'5". Today, named a Final Three of USC, Georgia Tech, and Loyola Chicago. He's out of Burns High School, native of Winston-Salem, but he went to Burns. Spent 5 years at the Citadel, so he paid his dues there. And for his career, he averaged 13.7 rebounds. In his career, he scored over 1,400 points and grabbed almost 750 rebounds. Last 2 seasons, he averaged 13 points and 10 rebounds per game, and he was named to the All-Southern Conference team. So South Carolina's in position with him to get a closer look at some point. Clemson's in the Final Four with defensive end Peter Woods of Alabaster, Alabama. The others are Alabama, Oklahoma, and Florida. So significant news for Clemson there. 2024 linebacker Aaron Childs is going to visit Clemson on Friday. Offensive tackle Elijah Davis of Wagner-Salley at East Mississippi Junior College plans to take official visits in June to Alabama and Tennessee. He last talked to USC defensive line coach Jimmy Lindsey last week. They talked about him visiting in June as well. He's also looking at Georgia and Ole Miss for possible visits. He said all those schools have offered. He said he's talking the most at this point with Georgia, Tennessee, and Alabama. Graduates in December, will have 2 years to play. Defensive end Mason Robinson, Owings Mills, Maryland, plans to visit USC Saturday. 2024 offensive tackle Cam Pringle of Woodland going to Alabama Saturday. And Clemson target defensive end Desmond Umi Azulu will visit Texas on Friday. Running back Jeremiah Cobb, who has visited Clemson, plans to visit Georgia tomorrow. Clemson and USC target linebacker Rico Walker was offered by Auburn. There you go with the recruiting report brought to you by Seawells. Now, if we can, let's bring you a couple of quick minutes from the Louisville women's coach, Jeff Waltz. Today from Minneapolis, looking ahead to the meeting with the Gamecocks tomorrow.
Thank you all. Just want to say how excited we are to be here. Looking forward to the opportunity to compete tomorrow night. We've got a wonderful group that I've had the opportunity to coach this entire season. Not only are they great basketball players, but they're great people. It's been one of the most enjoyable seasons that I've had in terms of just our road trips and getting to know them and practicing each and every day. And, just looking forward to going out tomorrow night and playing a great basketball team against a very, very good South Carolina team. Thank you.
People are talking about a lot of the other teams that are here, rightfully. It seems you guys are getting a little less attention than your opponent tomorrow or the other game. Is that something you use to sort of say, hey, we're pretty good too? We've been to a lot of Final Fours lately, the same amount as South Carolina, so to speak?
It is what it is. It's you listen to the shows, and I guess we're not supposed to be here. I'm not sure, but it's our fourth Final Four in 15 years. We've been to, I think, 7 Elite Eights, You know, we played in the last 4 Elite Eights, so I think we've done all right. I don't know. It's not too damn bad. Now, we haven't won a national championship, so I understand that. So I'm the first to say that. We played for 2. And, you know, unfortunately for us, I guess in some ways, I mean, I think the 2 that we lost in 9 and 13, the UConn teams, both those teams would probably be ranked in the top 5 of all women's basketball teams ever. So we just had a sucky year, you know, to play them in 9 and 13. But overall, I think you go back the last 5 years, I think we're either the third or fourth winningest program in women's basketball. And if you go back 10, I think we're in the top 5 or top 6. I think we've done pretty damn well.
That's great stuff. But he's got to win a national championship before people will recognize him, Chris, just like the Gamecocks had to win one a couple of years ago.
Exactly. You have to validate that you've been good by winning a title and stop with the disrespect card. Nobody's disrespecting a number 1 seed in the tournaments. That's such a tired, played out scenario that all coaches try and utilize.
Guys, it's been a blast. Sorry we couldn't get to all the calls. We'll pick up on that tomorrow night. Have yourself a great night. Chris, you have a good call tomorrow night. We won't have you with us.
No, sir. Looking forward to the game, hopefully.
Pat, you and I will be together with all our buddies. See you tomorrow night here on Sports Talk.